Okay, welcome ladies to our shir on this week's Parsha. This is a Sicha on Parshas Shelach. The Rebbe said the Sicha on Chaf Gimel Sivan in the year Tafshin Nun. And this Sicha tells us a lot about making choices. When it comes to decision making, how do we look at decisions? How do we make decisions? And what's the point and what's the idea of decisions? So we're going to take turns reading here. Let me just move this away. I'm not sure I could move this. Okay, Mushki, you want to begin to read?
Okay, this is the final Shabbos of the month of Sivan, the month associated with Matan Torah. The Shelach explains that the Yamim Tovim share an intrinsic connection to the Parshas read during the time of the year. Thus, it follows that there is a link between Parshas Shelach and the giving of our Torah. On the surface, however, the connection of the two is difficult to comprehend. Firstly, as Rashi comments, the words Shelach Lecha indicate that Hashem did not command Moshe to send spies. Rather, he left the choice to Moshe's discretion. This appears to run contrary to the giving of the Torah, which involves the communication of the mitzvahs, commandments, which Hashem requires us to fulfill. Secondly, what does it mean? It runs contrary to the giving of the Torah. Okay.
Yeah, the whole idea of giving the Torah is that Hashem is commanding and saying, this is what you must do. This is what I want from you.
Okay.
Shelach lecha is you decide. You decide what you want to do. It's all in your hands, like whatever you think.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Secondly, Parshas Shelach relates the narrative of the spies and their transgression of Hashem's will, which ultimately resulted in the Yidden being forced to remain in the desert for 40 years. This concept, These concepts of sin and exile run contrary to the event of Matan Torah. Okay.
Right. So that's the question. How do these go together? Shelach and Matan Torah, they're both the same time of year. There must be a connection, and seemingly they're opposites. Is it that Hashem is leading the way and telling us what to do, and we kind of just follow whatever Hashem says? Or do we decide what we do? Which one is it? There must be a connection. What is it? How is it connected? Okay. So now we're going to look at the idea of Shelach, of the whole idea of the Meraglim, and see what it means on a deeper level. And that's going to give us our answer.
Okay. These difficulties can be resolved based on the explanation of the concepts taught by Parshas Shelach. In principle, the sending of the spies was surely desirable, for it was decided upon by Moshe himself. Similarly, the individuals Moshe chose were leaders of the people, capable of carrying out the mission on which they had been sent. The positive nature of such a mission is further emphasized by the Haftarah, which describes Yeshua's sending of spies and the favorable results brought about by their mission. These positive factors exist because the mission associated with Shelach is symbolic of the soul's descent into this material world. Each neshama is a part of Hashem from above. It descends to this material world and encloses itself in a body to carry out the mission of creating a dwelling for Hashem in the lower world. I'm sorry, my child is sneaking. Oh my gosh. To carry out this mission, it is necessary to explore the land, to survey the nature of the service which must be carried out, discovering what conflicts and difficulties will arise, and what is the best possible way to transform the land into a dwelling for Hashem. Okay. This mission, as was the sending of the spies, is left to man's discretion. Indeed, as Rashi emphasizes in his commentary on the opening verse of the Parsha, Hashem allows the possibility of an error because to create a dwelling for Hashem in the lower worlds, man must act on his own initiative, based on his own choice and decision. Wow. Okay.
Yes, so that's really Hashem's desire, is exactly that we should be the ones to decide, to explore the land, so to say, and see what needs to be done and make our own choices.
He
And
gives
that's
us
how
the
it connects
what.
to Matan Torah. The whole purpose of Matan Torah is that we should take Hashem and bring him down here in this physical world with physical choices in our daily lives. And it has to come from us down here. That's how it becomes down here in this world.
So he gives us the what and we do the how.
Exactly. Okay, would you like to continue? If you want to break, I could continue. It's up to you.
Okay. I just feel bad because I'm not reading the perfect
You're doing
English.
great.
This concept, the importance of service on one's own initiative as expressed through a person's positive choice, despite the possibility for error, is also reflected in the events connected with the giving of the Torah. After the revelation of Mount Sinai, Moshe ascended the mountain for 40 days to receive the Torah. At the conclusion of these 40 days, however, Hashem allowed the possibility for error, as the Torah relates, and the people saw that Moshe delayed in descending from the mountain, a possibility which ultimately resulted in the sin of the golden calf and the destruction of the tablets. Why did Hashem allow for such a possibility? Because this is the ultimate purpose of man's service, to exist in an environment where there is a possibility for error, and nevertheless to rise above that possibility and through one's own choice and initiative serve God. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're so hard on ourselves. Meanwhile,
This is exactly what Hashem wants us to do, to go through those choices and then transform any mistakes.
it's so crazy because nowadays the world, everybody is trying to be perfect outside. Meanwhile, inside they're depressed because they're not perfect. Meanwhile, but they're trying to show off that they're perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why Chassidus is so important, because otherwise you get confused. Okay, now the Rebbe is going to say, I don't know why my screen keeps blanking out. I hope my computer is not dying. Time will tell. Okay, so now the Pirkei Avos also talks about, you know what it looks like? I'm going to pause the recording for a minute and plug in my computer. Just a moment. Okay, so now the Rebbe is going to explain how this week's Pirkei Avos talks about the same idea of freedom of choice and making mistakes, and how actually those mistakes end up helping us as well. It's all part of the, the desire of what Hashem wants us to go through. And this is a quote from Rabbi Akiva, who explains how he became a convert, and this is his freedom of choice, that he decided to be a Yid. Okay, so Mushki, would you like to continue?
Okay. The following Mishnah states, everything is foreseen, yet freedom of choice is granted. Is foreseen, the freedom of choice is granted. This relates to the conversion of Rabbi Akiva, where in the most complete sense, freedom of choice is granted, as there is no command to convert. Rabbi Akiva teaches that this quality of avodah can also be experienced by a native-born Yid. Though everything is foreseen within the context of a person's activities in this world, he is given free choice and thus the possibility to err regarding his behavior. Rabbi Akiva concludes these teachings with a statement: everything is prepared for the feast, emphasizing that whether one overcomes the challenge of the possibility of error or not, ultimately one can merit the feast by correcting one's errors through tshuva. Furthermore, everything, even the challenge that presents the possibility for sin, is prepared for the feast. The negative and challenging factors were created only to bring about only to bring about the ultimate reward received through service of one's own initiative.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to skip ahead now a little bit. The Rebbe says here the idea of how it's so important to make public shiurim, and that every Yid has his own personal shlichus that brings Mashiach. And if you take the word shliach, you add 10, it becomes Mashiach. Let me just double check that I did that right. Yeah. So we have to like use our 10 kaichas and infuse all our 10 abilities with our shlichus, which brings Mashiach. So every single Yid, the Rebbe is saying, even a man, woman, and child, every single person should be giving shiurim. So this really is important for Rebbe to hold. So that's why we're here. And yeah. So practical applications I'm going to go through that I just put together after learning this. So when facing a challenge or making decisions, how can I react in a positive way and know that I'm really making the right choice? Because ultimately we really want to make the right choice. So the first step I would say is to search inwardly and think like, what is my gut feeling? What is my intuition? What's my neshama telling me? And I'm really working on this to really like trust my gut. And then if we're still not sure, turning to Hashem. Hashem really can find so many ways to tell us the answers, whether it's, something we hear that day or learning the chitas that day. Writing to the Rebbe is such a valuable tool. It's really incredible how the Rebbe guides us still today, and even more so through, whether going to the Ayel or writing a letter in the Igris or just writing a letter or thinking a letter. And the Rebbe will find a way to answer us. The Rebbe also set it up that he asked us to have a mashpia and that he answers through the mashpia. So discussing with a mashpia or with a friend. Today the Hayamim talks about discussing things with a friend. So all these help us getting to the right choice. And how about when we make the wrong choices and we realize, oops, that wasn't the best choice, or we realize we didn't do the right thing. So the next thing is to really forgive ourselves and forgive others for the mistakes and the wrong choices that we make, which is inevitable. We're human. And to transform those mistakes through the power of tshuva. What's tshuva? Admitting. So the first step is really to understand that there is a problem, and this is so important. And to feel bad, regret, and then to make a better choice next time. And this is very important, extremely important, letting go of guilt. Because this is really part of the journey. Hashem set it up that he wants us to be the ones making the choices. And he understands that we might sometimes not make the right choices. And that's part of our journey. And then the last thing, like we just said, is to start a shir, teach Chassidus. And, there's so many ways to teach these days on Zoom, on WhatsApp, on a phone call. Everybody could make a shir, figure out how to teach Chassidus and learn Chassidus. So that's for today. Thank you so much for joining. And we shall merit to see the full Geula and see the result of all our positive choices that we have been making.
Amen. Amen. It's my